Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight with the WWE TLC 2017 results / reviews / highlights of the show. This was a really good show. I honestly enjoyed all 3.5 hours of wrestling that we got to check out tonight. Very, very fun stuff from WWE and the Monday Night Raw brand. I know that I was sort of scared about how this show was going to live up to the hype of having the TLC match that was supposed to be built around the return of the Shield. The main member of the Shield being Roman Reigns not being able to attend the show. And where they would go from here. We've heard rumors that the Raw writers were frivolously trying to find a way to save this show and make it make sense, as well as find a way to write a show for Monday night and then make that show make sense as well. But they knocked it out of the park. WWE does this better than anybody else. To find a way to use smoke and mirrors, to find a way to hide people during matches and use the gimmicks that are given to us. I mean, not only did we get Kurt Angle wrestling in a WWE match, he was in a freaking TLC match where he could have killed himself. Very early in this match, I could tell that Angle was not going to be laying down. Not saying that Angle was going to be taking the pin, but Angle wasn't just going in there and going to be starting like, I'm going to punch a guy, I'm going to hit a guy, I'm going to walk around, I might, take a little, bump where I fall down in the ring and then hide out in the corner for a while, or I get bumped out of the ring and just lay down on the mat for 15 minutes and take a nap, which we've seen from some guys in the past. Everyone went in there, everyone knocked it out of the park tonight. This was a really, really good show from start to finish. Only one match didn't have me entertained. Well, maybe two. Both being the cruiserweights, both being the 205 Live. But everyone from top to bottom really knocked it out of the park tonight. In the kickoff match, we had Sasha Banks wrestling against Alicia Fox in one of 3 women's matches that ended up happening on this show. Sasha Banks got the win here by making Sasha Banks got the win here by making Alicia Fox tap out to the Banks statement. But a very physical match that hopefully now Sasha will move up and be going after the women's championship. Asuka had her debut where she defeated Emma. Another very physical match in the opener of the actual TLC pay-per-view. Asuka ended up getting the Asuka lock. She's now 1-0. I'm not quite sure how fast she's going to climb, but then again, I can't think of many women on the Raw roster for her to have a match against. I know they're going to want to save the Bayley match for somewhere down the road. And unless Asuka is going to be stepping up and taking on Alicia Fox, she has to get in that title picture sooner than later, especially with Nia Jax, who is another one who had a really, really good match with Asuka in developmental. It's sort of taking some time off, I guess. We had Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann get the win over Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick. We had Alexa Bliss beat Mickie James and could be Mickie James' retirement match. She sort of had a promo after the match where she sort of said that she really enjoyed her time with the WWE and that she gave her all. She had sort of dedicated this match to her son, and it didn't come out where she had a very, very respectful match, and Alexa Bliss got the best of her. And I think Mickie can go out with her head high that she went a year in WWE on the main roster, and she held her own. Good television matches, a few pay-per-view spots here and there along the way. She didn't get to hold the championship. She didn't get to tie Trish's record, but she didn't embarrass herself. She didn't have to go out with the Mickie James angle. She did have to go out with Alexa Bliss calling her an old lady and making jokes like that, but it is what it is. I'm sure that Mickie James knew that they were coming. Enzo, 2-time Cruiserweight champion, defeating Callisto. Nothing really spectacular there. But then again, I don't watch 205 Live, so I can't expect a lot to go on. From here, we had Finn Balor defeat AJ Styles in the Dream match, where I wish these guys would fight forever. I don't know how this match has never happened, whether if it was just on some independent or in New Japan or somewhere along the way, but we got a treat here. People complained that at No Mercy they gave us Roman versus John Cena. Well, because of the whole Sister Abigail and Bray Wyatt being sick, we got to steal a WrestleMania main event here. When these guys get in the ring again, they are going to play this tape to hype us up for what is going to be, hopefully, one of the best rematches of all time. With Survivor Series being tied in as Raw versus SmackDown, my guess is that we might even get to see this at next month's Survivor Series. But AJ came in, he flew 18 hours in order to be here for this, but him and Finn Balor knocked it out of the park. Finn got the best of AJ with the coup de grace. After all, it is his show. AJ is saying that sometime, sooner than later, they will have this match, and very respectfully, they gave each other the too sweet. People going bananas about that right now. Easily one of the best matches that I can say that I am glad to be a professional wrestling fan. I'm glad that I love WWE. I'm glad I got to see this match. Really, really good stuff. Throughout the show, we had Jason Jordan, interrupting the Elias concert. But nothing really spectacular here. Just Elias getting rolled up for a win. I believe, and the announcers believed, that he had his shoulder up, but Jason Jordan ended up getting the 3. And I don't think anybody was really into this anyways. The main event ended up being Kurt Angle and The Shield defeating Team Miz. Stories that we have to see from this is that if we were going to see a Strowman versus Kane match, is Braun Strowman even alive? How does Miz and the Bar live with each other knowing that they lost a 5-on-3 match? Will Kurt Angle still be in charge of Monday Night Raw? I'm hoping that they don't just make this guy a member of the live roster, but then again, when Shawn Michaels came back for, SummerSlam 2002, the plan was only to have one match. That turned into another match, turned into him coming back and winning the championship at Survivor Series, which turned into him coming back and wrestling a show, and hey, you want to work this house show and this house show, and next thing you know, Shawn's on the main roster and he's back wrestling for as long as he took his hiatus after WrestleMania 14. Angle and The Shield got the win here. We ended up seeing Braun Strowman thrown into a garbage truck and, basically crunched up. We'll have to see how he's able to make his return from that. I partly was sort of thinking he was going to bust out of the side of the garbage truck, but then The Miz told the guy to drive off. So next time we see Strowman, he's going to be pissed at Cesaro, Kane, Miz, and Sheamus. So Angle ended up getting the win. WWE knocked it out of the park. I was scared this was going to be another great American Bash. If I had any guts, I would watch that show because of how much I've talked about it in the last 2 days with the elevated liver enzymes and the first Punjabi prison match. So we'll see you guys down the road. Peace out, everybody. Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. Good times. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight as we are watching WWE TLC on the WWE Network. Here we are on the WWE. I'm not sure if this is the Mountain Dew kickoff show or not. I haven't heard him call that in a while. But we had our first match with Sasha Banks going up against Alicia Fox. This was basically built up because we had a match on Monday Night Raw where Sasha Banks beat Alicia Fox in the ring, and then Alicia Fox attacked Sasha Banks and even got physical with the referee in the back, to the point where Sasha Banks demanded the match, and it was given to her on the kickoff show here. I can tell you that I've been watching the kickoff shows for a while, and honestly, I love Alicia Fox. She's one of my favorite divas on the main roster, but this was probably the best kickoff show match that I've seen in a long time. This was a very physical match from Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox. Sasha took it really early to Alicia Fox, the point where Alicia Fox was begging off and even crying at one point, trying to get Sasha to come off of her. And the match became very physical when Alicia threw Sasha to the outside. In this match, Sasha Banks was able to make Alicia Fox tap out to the bank statement in the middle of the ring. My only question from here, though, is I am predicting that Alexa Bliss is going to beat Mickie James on the actual WWE TLC pay-per-view. Does this mean that Sasha Banks will now move up and get an actual shot at the Raw Women's Championship? Or, what is going to come from Asuka having her match against Emma? How long will Asuka have to be waiting in the ranks? There was lots of stuff this week about Nia Jax packing up her bags and going home. Some saying that, she walked out on WWE. Some people say that, she just asked for time off because they weren't using her at this point. All around that, there's a lot of rumors. And to me, honestly, when I look at the Raw women's roster, especially with Charlotte leaving, it doesn't really leave a lot of spots for these girls to do things. It's probably one of the reasons why Alicia Fox is being used on the actual kickoff show. She's not normally one to be getting pay-per-view matches. But, I'm thinking that we're going to be seeing a rematch between Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. Lots of talk of those two girls not working well together because they're not actual friends in real life, but sometimes that can draw out to be the better matches, and I think that's the one that I'm looking forward to at the next pay-per-view, Sasha Banks against Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. To kick off the WWE TLC 2017 show, WWE ended up going with Asuka to kick off the show in a match against Emma. This, of course, was a return match from NXT, where both of them were on the developmental roster, where they took on each other in the NXT London show well over a year ago. Asuka was new on her run there, and I'm guessing that Asuka is still going to be very physical and very dominant on the Raw roster. Although I will tell you that the match against Emma was not as dominant as I once thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be one heck of a squash-a-rooney, where Asuka would defeat Emma in, less than a minute. But there was times in this match when Emma honestly really had control, and it was not as much of a squash match as I thought it was going to be. I thought that when them bringing out Emma and then having Asuka come out second, we got to see the lights, we got to see the color, we got to see the entrance with her coming out with the clown mask on and her drawing you into her character. I think it's going to be a very fun ride for Asuka, and hopefully she will be one of the ones that sort of rises above, that sort of NXT buzz that a lot of people do have when they come to the main roster. Although there have been people like Kevin Owens who have really hit the main roster and really just busted through, there's been a lot of people that have gotten, from the main roster to the main roster from NXT that have sort of fallen flat. So I'm hoping for the best with Asuka, but when you see people like Adam Rose, when you see people even as recent as Ty Dillinger, they come up, they have the buzz about them. So many times you see guys come to the main roster and they run with them having a short little undefeated streak. Even Bo Dallas had one when he came to the main roster. And then all of a sudden you lose. And then WWE's main writers sort of figure, we've had him lose once, why not have him lose again? And next thing you know, you can't really remember the last time that these guys got a win. Very physical match, second physical match in a row from the women on the roster, Asuka versus Emma. I can honestly tell you that I don't think it lived up to the first one that happened in London, but a very, very good match. Asuka gets the win here with the Asuka lock, and we continue on the road at WWE TLC 2017. Raw Women's Championship match at WWE TLC 2017. Alexa Bliss going up against Mickie James. I think this was a little bit more of a tougher match than Alexa Bliss had thought she was going to have. I can honestly tell you that I forgot that Alexa Bliss is the one who brought Mickie James to SmackDown in storyline to win that steel cage match against Becky Lynch last year. Of course, Mickie came back to WWE after wrestling for Impact Wrestling for a long time, returned to have the match against Asuka, and really wowed people over in WWE to the point where they wanted her to join the SmackDown roster to help a lot of the young talent. I can honestly tell you that since Mickie James came back to the main roster, I'm sure that she's happy that she's wrestling in WWE and is a part of the big show once again. But I can honestly tell you that she really hasn't done... Is she going to retire? They're interviewing her in the ring right now. I wonder if she's going to... But, well, I can still go. Basically, Mickie hasn't really done a whole lot on the main roster since coming back. He's a lot like the Dudleys. Came in with a whole bunch of steam and just sort of faded out within a year. I can tell you that this is probably the first match I've seen Mickie James wrestle, unless she was on WrestleMania, and I just don't remember her being on there in some sort of multi-women's match. But I forgot how much I liked Mickie James. I can honestly look at her in the ring, and it's still like I'm looking at her back in 2005 or 2006 when she was breaking in with the whole Mickie versus Trish angle. And, she still looks the same. I've loved everything about her. I love her wrestling style. I love her, her look. She just looks hot. She looks sexy. That's just the look that comes off of her. She's always been one of my favorites. Even when she was in TNA, she sort of got lost in the shuffle there with the hardcore country deal. But, it was fun to see her wrestle. And fun to see her almost get the win here against Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss calling her the old lady, bringing up that whole deal. But in this match, basically, Mickie had her number. But, Bliss, who actually went to the top rope and missed the Bliss bomb, was able to take advantage of a Mickie James mistake. And it was 1-2-3. The younger and quicker Alexa Bliss keeps the victory, which means she keeps the Raw Women's Championship. My question is now, where do they go from here? Is it Sasha Banks who got the win over Alicia Fox on the kickoff show, or is Asuka getting bumped up right into the main event? We'll have to see where we go from here, but a whole lot more of TLC to come, and we're gonna have to see who the next comer for the championship for Alexa Bliss is going to be, probably on Raw tomorrow night. As we're sitting here watching WWE TLC 2017, Mickie James fell short in her matchup against Alexa Bliss. And after that match, we were granted a short promo with Mickie James inside of the ring. I honestly thought that the promo was a little bit out of the norm. I've seen sometimes WWE do interviews with the winners in the back, but most of the time you don't see interviews with the losers. And this one happened inside of the ring, which leads to my speculation that I think Mickie James has retired from the WWE. Mickie James, of course, came back to WWE after wrestling for Impact Wrestling, after being one of the major stars of the women division for WWE. When it sort of came up to the time of they were sort of, I can almost say that they were pushing her out with the whole Mickie James angle and other things. She went and she wrestled for TNA. She wrestled for Impact. She tried her best to become a country music star. She had the big hit Hardcore Country, which she used for her wrestling theme in Impact Wrestling. She also she was not singing, but she was an actress in a Shooter Jennings music video with Billy Currington, which was pretty cool. She didn't really get to the heights in country music that I thought she was going to, but it's honestly really hard to break through, especially as a woman in country music and be a star. But honestly, to me, Mickie James, if she is retiring from WWE, she did have a great run and she got to come back. It's a lot like what the Dudleys did when they came back for that 1-year run from SummerSlam to SummerSlam. Mickie James came back. She wrestled the match against Asuka. Last year, I believe that was the NXT in Toronto, which would have been at the Survivor Series. So it would have been right about a year last year. Then, of course, she came back to SmackDown, helping out Alexa Bliss. And I think that they broke up Alexa and Mickie sometime around WrestleMania. And I think Mickie did wrestle at WrestleMania in like a 5-pack or a 6-pack challenge or something like that. Mickie didn't get to accomplish her goal of becoming a 7-time women's champion in WWE. But I think, honestly, there is a place for her to retire from WWE, go home to her son and her husband Magnus, who had a short little stint in Impact where he returned to there. But a lot like a lot of people that are returning to Impact, especially with the new management, they're finding out that it's not what they thought it was going to be. A lot of people thought once they got Dixie Carter out, once they got Jeff Jarrett out, and there was new people It's a lot like, when new management takes over the restaurant down the street that, just got your order wrong one too many times that you should stop going there. But once you see the sign under new management, that's when you're like, hey, well, maybe it's time to go back there. And then you get back there and you find out it's worse than it was before. Mickie has always been one of my favorites. I think without a doubt, I wouldn't be surprised if it's this year, maybe even if not next year. She's a surefire WWE Hall of Famer. I can't think of anybody other than Chyna that deserves to go in more than she does, and we'll have to see if it's only a test of time before it happens. I wouldn't be surprised if she's one of the interviews tonight on this would be Raw Talk after the show, and we actually hear a formal announcement from her. Enzo Amore, the two-time Cruiserweight Champion, wins the Cruiserweight Championship live at TLC 2017, beating Callisto in a very uninspiring match. Many can say that this title reign from Callisto was brought up just by the fact that Neville walked out of WWE. Neville was supposed to wrestle a non-title match that was supposed to build up the Callisto versus Enzo match for the championship at TLC. This was actually supposed to be a championship match for Callisto on the other end. But because of the whole Neville thing, Vince decided to just put the championship on there. I thought it was a way to spike ratings for 205 Live and sort of make it the main event of Raw and make it appealing. But I'm not sure, man. I just like the match that was on earlier tonight with Gallagher, Cedric Alexander, Rich Swann. I'll tell you right now, I've always liked Brian Kendrick. Rich Swann and Cedric Alexander are two guys that I've always watched before they got into WWE. But for some reason, the whole 205 Live show is just been uninspiring to me. I honestly can tell you that I haven't even watched the Cruiserweight Championship from last year. I'm not sure what the heck is going on here. Enzo is a really good talent. I still don't... I guess now what they did probably worked out for the better because Kaz got injured. But to me, honestly, Enzo is always going to be more valuable when he is with Kaz. And, for him to go to 205 Live and turn heel, it just makes me wonder why they didn't have Enzo and Kaz wrestle as a heel tag team and just take it from there. Short match, Enzo gets the win. I think that's the way they want it. Nothing much there. To take the words right out of Michael Cole's mouth, that match delivered. That was an awesome match. That is why you like professional wrestling. This is why we watch this stuff. AJ Styles and Finn Balor went out and delivered one hell of an awesome match that makes you know the reason why we are sitting here watching TLC. That we know every once in a while a match like this is going to come along. I'm not saying this is going to be match of the year, but to me, that brought back tingles inside of my chest that made me realize why I love professional wrestling. Finn Balor reminds me why I think he is the blue chipper that will save WWE and take it to the new level that it needs to be at sooner than later. AJ Styles was the perfect person for him to have a match against. This match was made because of the fact that some superstars got sick. AJ Styles had to take a flight where he was traveling from Santiago, Chile for over, I believe it was 16 hours on a plane just to wrestle this match and find a way to save this show. To me, honestly, I really think that it did do that for the fact that these guys went out there. This was not a number one contenders match. It was not a championship match. But this was just for pride of who the better wrestler, who the better competitor was. And there's probably more that's going to come out of this match. With now them advertising Survivor Series is once again SmackDown versus Raw. I know that we've already pretty much set up that we're going to have, oh, look at the two suites right there in the ring. We've already pretty much said, God, people are going to be talking about that. I didn't even think about it until I did it. People are going to be talking about that a lot. Keyboard warriors right now talking about the Bullet Club and the Young Bucks and all sorts of rumors going to be coming out of that right there. But to see Finn Balor actually put the demon paint on and actually get a big win against AJ Styles means a lot to me. And I got scared there when they turned out the lights during Finn's reaction, because I was scared they were going to do some sort of Sister Abigail Bray Wyatt deal. And I thought it was funny, honestly, that Michael Cole said at one point that he was supposed to wrestle against Bray Wyatt tonight. And I was like, hey, I thought it was supposed to be against Sister Abigail. But with now SmackDown versus Raw at Survivor Series, maybe we'll get to see this once again as some sort of a rematch. I would love to see it. This match was awesome, and I think that it really just knocked it out of the park. This was a really, really good match. TLC always is a freaking awesome match, but it's going to be hard to see how they top this, honestly, in my mind. I really want. That's all I can say. All of their backstory with, the Bullet Club. They talked about the Bullet Club without talking about the Bullet Club tonight, but the coup de grace, 1, 2, 3, AJ goes back to SmackDown. All I can say is I want to see it again. The Olympic Shield Bomb. How cool was that? WWE main event for TLC 2017. They knocked it right out of the park. That was a freaking awesome show. Kurt Angle joining up with the Shield, replacing Roman Reigns, who is out with sickness. I think they honestly covered up just about everything that I had question marks about. Kurt Angle did not have to wrestle the entire match. He was taken out by Braun Strowman going through a table. Minutes, and not minutes into the match, but shortly into the match. And he went back to the back before coming out and making the save later on in the show. They had Kurt Angle wrestle in the Roman Reigns flak jacket, the Shield attire. Maybe that was covering up any thing that Angle didn't have the last minute moments to get into shape for. He did prepare for this match on 2 days notice, pretty much, coming in to save WWE. But this was a great match. I think that honestly, the Shield was outnumbered 3-5. And there was times in this match when Angle was out of it, and it was 5-on-2 with this Ambrose and Rollins getting killed by everyone in the ring, that you just were to the point of just end it. But you knew that, Angle had to go to the back. You knew that he was coming out to make the save. You knew that something was coming along. The Miz, during the show, basically had said that he had a plan for the night, that he had planned to take out the garbage, in his own words, during the show when they won, and then they would go on to take over and run Monday Night Raw. That ended up not coming to fruition, but The Miz did bring out a garbage truck, and his plan was to throw Kurt Angle, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose into the garbage truck, but Rollins went in, and then as Ambrose was about to be thrown in, both guys shimmied up the garbage truck and jumped off and took out everyone. There was some built-up tension in the match between Braun Strowman and Kane, after Kane accidentally hit Strowman with a steel chair. There was moments when I thought that Kane had turned on a babyface run when Strowman and Kane ended up fighting each other. I think they ended up just becoming two heels that don't like each other. But after Kane and Strowman got into it, Kane ended up doing the Wade Barrett trick, where he ended up knocking down Braun Strowman, reaching up and grabbing the set display of chairs, pulling it down, and just the chairs falling from the heavens above just covered up and left Strowman laying there in the ring. Or, I'm sorry, outside of the ring. During the garbage truck spot, we ended up having Braun Strowman and Kane get into it once again, which ended up Braun Strowman turning on his entire team, where basically Team Miz had to gang up 4-on-1 to take down Strowman, where they threw him into the garbage truck, instructed the garbage man, who was not Duke the Dumpster Drosy, to basically crunch Strowman and drive out of the arena. They basically killed the man. on TLC. Strowman, who was with the Wyatts but does not have superficial powers, we are going to have to see how they saved Strowman. I honestly have no clue. But once they made their way back to the ring, ended up being 4-on-2 before Kurt Angle made his way out of the back, coming out to his original music. We did not get the Kurt Angle entrance. We still do not have an official entrance because he did not come back wearing the attire like my buddy Luke Caro would guess during the match. But he did have the intensity in his eyes that he wanted to kill somebody. He ended up picking up, I believe, I think he hit it on Sheamus, the Olympic Slam, before making his way into the ring, and ended up just being The Miz versus The Shield with Kurt Angle, and they ended up hitting the triple power bomb, where they would end up having Angle get the 1-2-3 in the victory. A very impressive main event, a very impressive show. Two really good matches, pretty much back-to-back, with AJ against Finn Balor, and then also having the return of Kurt Angle with the Shield match. Very, very good stuff. Claps all around, good times, great match, great night of wrestling. See you on Raw. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight. We got to see it. Kurt Angle's return to WWE. Honestly, in my mind, this was a bigger and better match than I thought this was going to be. With only 2 days to save the pay-per-view, and basically the main event being scrapped, the biggest star of the TLC match, Roman Reigns, being removed, and then also being replaced by a legend on the Raw roster and being the GM, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, I don't believe, has wrestled a match since signing to come back to WWE, which have to be sometime around the end of last year. Angle, I know, is always saying publicly that he wants to return to the ring. He wants to be a part of WWE. I've always thought that he can say it all he wants, and it's a lot like Hulk Hogan saying that he wants to return to WWE. Until WWE really needed Kurt Angle to wrestle in a match, I didn't think that it was going to happen. We've seen so many legends like Ric Flair, Mick Foley, Hulk Hogan, that are just beaten up. They're just sort of veterans of the ring. We know that they have something to give to the business, but WWE, with their sort of strict rules and their wellness policy, looking out for their performers, knowing that they don't want any of these guys to die on their watch, you know, they've all been told that they can't do this anymore. Even a guy like Edge, who is at the top of his game, they told him his neck couldn't hold up and it wasn't going to be able to go anymore. Kurt Angle, I thought his days were done. I thought that when he left Impact Wrestling, that his days of wrestling were going to be gone, and he would just be the performer, and WWE would find a way to use him, and that was just going to be it. But here he is, on 2 days' notice, coming back and wrestling in not only a wrestling match. This isn't just a run-in at the Royal Rumble. This is a TLC match, and WWE is better than anybody else in the game in finding a way to use gimmicks and finding a way to hide guys in matches. Angle was out there. Angle was a part of the entrance. He came into this match. He was physical. He took shots from Kane, but ended up getting put through a table and taken out of the match. And he was gone, ended up making it a 5-on-2 match with Ambrose and Rollins getting beat on. And then they built in a story of basically Kane and Strowman turning on each other, Strowman turning on the whole team, the team turning on Strowman, and then getting Strowman taken out of the match before Angle came back to make his return. With this match, I'm honestly really looking forward to Kurt Angle and what he's going to do in the future. You know, now when we talk about Kurt Angle getting a Royal Rumble spot, Kurt Angle getting a WrestleMania match, Kurt Angle wrestling Triple H to see who's going to be in control of the Monday Night Raw brand. These rumors really have legs because we now know that Angle is going to be able to pass the wellness test and be a part of WWE and actually wrestle at a high he can give us everything he has. Sting did that at WrestleMania 31. They used the smoke and mirrors. They used the magic of the DX versus NWO match that broke out in the middle of it. But it didn't last forever. So I know that, every time we see Kurt, it might be the last time, but this was freaking awesome.